you for coming for this informational meeting regarding summer school. So just a little short background on summer school. Summer school will be run site-based. The district has given the sites the opportunity to create a program and also to hire staff for summer school from the site. So those are the first two criteria that are important in this process. The staff that's we're going to be looking at is not only teachers, but also classified, meaning usually we have an office manager and attendance. Additionally to the under UTR, also counselor for this program during the summer, plus staff from the admin team. So the idea is to create a robust summer program in person for our students. Additionally, the district has been working on something called a CPP plan, which is the COVID-19 prevention program, which has not rolled out yet, but you saw many parts of it in the tentative agreement for the in-person intervention program that was presented by the different unions. So the reason we're here is to let you know what have been some of the safety updates on campus and what are some of the procedures, depending on what tier we're on, that will be followed for the summer. Next slide, please. Yeah.
So I added some frequently asked questions, like some questions that I keep hearing over and over again about summer. If there's some questions that you want to make sure we cover, if you can put them in the chat and I'll add them to the slide so we can talk about them at the end of the presentation.
All right, next slide. All right. So a couple of logistics for the agenda. Sorry, for the summer school. Summer school, it's mainly credit recovery, and traditionally in high school has always been credit recovery. So that's going to be one of the main focuses, is for students that need the credits to graduate and or to make up some credits that they lost. So we're looking at 7 to 8 different programs, right? Credit recovery, in-person and or independent study. Summer Bridge to invite our 8th graders, maybe our 9th graders that we haven't met in person. A newcomer language immersion, an African American Leadership Institute, a math camp, definitely band camp, athletics, and then we're open to ideas. So we're looking at running summer school in 2 blocks, an 8:30 to 11:30 block, a 12 to 3 p.m. block. There is no lunch during the summer. So if you remember from past practices, it was always, if you would like a lunch, you would pick it up in front of the school as part of a summer food program, but there will be no cafeteria services other than the students would get a bag lunch in the way off or on campus. So just as a point of clarification, students will not be eating lunch at school. As far as the commitment on hours, it is a 3-hour class block, but teachers will be expected in their planning and their collaboration and will be paid for 5 hours a day. So once again, 3-hour program, 5 hours of pay for each day for planning purposes. Okay.
Also, just depending on student interest and staff availability, we're going to see if like some of the, I don't necessarily expect it to be like every day 3 hours in person. I think we're trying to figure out the best programming. So especially some of the summer programs like Summer Bridge, our newcomer program might be like half and half, like still half virtual, and still, or half in person, just depending on how many students we get.
And the other reason for summer school to be so open is to try out new ideas depending what happens in the fall. So this is a second dry run for students being on campus. So we will definitely clear this up with the school, with the district, but the main goal is for students to be physically on campus with an adult.
De Leon, do you want to clarify if we will be a SPED site this summer, an ESY site?
Right, we are not an ESY site. So if you are working for, if you want to apply for a special education position, we are not one of the sites. I think it's El Cerrito and De Anza for those. And you will have to apply for those positions through the district. And those applications came out, I think last Friday. So class sizes, if you haven't been on campus, all the classrooms have been configured to 12 to 14 student spaces in each classroom. And I say 12 to 14 because everything depended on the size of the room. All the desks are 6 feet apart from each other, and even the 6 feet apart from the teacher's desk. Like I said before, lunch will be grab and go, will not be on campus. This program is designed for Richmond High School students. So they'll be the ones that we will be reaching out to invite to this program. Yes,
So
Rhea?
2 questions, De Leon. One of them is, what if a teacher does both, like the morning and the afternoon? So that actually equals 6 hours without the planning time.
Right. So as far as I know from conversations with UTR, it is a 5-hour day. So we will have to clarify. I'm actually going to a meeting today at 9. I think the district's original plan was only to be a morning program, and we're extending it out to an afternoon program. So we'll have to see if there's flexibility from the district on that one. But it was always designed to be a 3-hour commitment from the teacher with 2 hours of prep. So we'll
Got
follow
it.
that up.
There's also a question around, what is the hourly pay rate for summer?
So it is your hourly regular day pay. So it's whatever, it's your hourly per diem rate or your hourly rate, depending on what step and range you're in. So it's not a stipend. It's it is your regular salary hourly rate. So there will be time cards or in ESS to pay for this. Did that answer that question?
Yeah, I'm also wondering, does that account apply for classified staff? I know we have some here that might be interested in working this summer.
Yes, it should apply for classified also.
Any other questions, you guys?
So the idea of the, sorry. So the other big part was around, well, how are we keeping everyone safe, and what is the measures that that have been implemented and that will be implemented. So as you know, at this time we're going through, we just finished negotiations and we're coming to different voting points from the different units related to this reopening for in April for some type of in-person intervention plan. So if you can open this document up. So let me tell you what are some of the commitments already from the district. So at this time, I should have done this. Could you go down to number 1 on vaccinations? and then make it bigger. All right, so did we pass it? So at this time, there is no requirement to be vaccinated to participate in summer school, but it will be highly recommended. If you're still looking as a teacher or as a staff for vaccination, the district has codes to fast track your vaccination process. Here, ready to go further down. So in the classrooms, the district has already delivered hallways and main spaces hand sanitizers. They're not putting in sinks in the classrooms. In the classrooms, there will be a wall-mounted hand sanitizer. And the answer is yes, it is not hands-free. You have to pump the in-class hand sanitizer. But every classroom does have a hand sanitizer installed by the door. Also, masks will be required. The district will be providing masks to the level of the N95 for adults on campus for them to use when they're on campus, and it will also be required from the students. We will definitely message that out to the families that masks, even if you're vaccinated, will be expected. Are there some, I know that under the MMSN program, what used to be called the SH program, there are some students that have some conditions that not allowed them to wear masks. And that group of students, that is the severely handicapped students, should be not at our site this summer. Now, the other thing is, well, what about, we have no windows and there's no ventilation, right? So one thing has been happening on campus is they have been installing HEPA air filters or air cleaners and scrubbers in every classroom on campus. So the only classroom that does not get an air cleaner or filter is the classroom that has windows. Any classroom that a window can open more than 3 inches, then fresh air can circulate through that classroom. They will not have a HEPA filter installed. But every other classroom inside the building does have a air filter installed inside the classroom. And that's one of the things that I think we're going through with UTR in the district is they're gonna be working on monitoring how many times per hour does the air in the classroom get cleaned out. But the mediation inside the school, not the mall, but in the classrooms, not the hallways, but in the classrooms, is a HEPA filter has been installed in the classrooms.
Can I stop for some questions, De Leon?
Yeah.
Or do you want to keep going?
No, let's go ahead and stop for questions.
So one of the questions is, who's going to be taking the temperature of students when they enter the building?
So that's the next part. So a couple of things are happening. A, the students are not the only ones that need to have a temperature taken. It will be every single staff that comes in will have to register for COVID tracing. So one of the big differences is we have not been very good at signing in and signing out. That will have to change because of contact tracing for COVID. There will be, if they ever get it together, an electronic way for staff to sign in and to have their temperatures taken. So it's one of the things that has to change is we usually really used to just going to my classroom and getting to work. You will need to come in and get tested or your temperature taken most likely from We do not have those details, whether it's going to be a front office staff or if it's going to be a CSO as you come in. We have the next part of this is how do you test even 100 students trying to get through one door and then keep them socially distanced, plus making sure they're on time to class. So we're trying to work that out, especially with the units. So the thoughts are for the adults, my thoughts are for the adults, main office, come in, get scanned in, get your temperature taken. I know the parents suggested in parent meetings to get the students into separate spaces quickly. The teachers should have a thermometer to check them. I just don't know if we do one point of entry, what would the backup of students be, and can we keep them socially distanced, or is it better to go right to your room and have the students tested as you temperature scan as you walked in, and the district would have to get those thermometers to us as soon as possible. And if a student has a high temperature, there will be what's called an isolation room that will be monitored by classified staff that the district has committed to training in some type of first aid. The isolation room, we're not saying that somebody's going to sit inside a room with a bunch of sick individuals. I think we have a process for it. It'll be more like a check-in, check-out person that from outside the room can see what's going on inside while the parents come in and pick them up. The other question is, well, who is there going to be some? We know that some districts, parents have to do some checking at home and then log it into a computer and then testifying that their student is not sick before they come to school. I don't know if the district is going to pay for that software, but I know that there are instructions to the parents. If your student is sick, don't send them to school, especially during summer school, and or if this in-person intervention comes in.
I'm gonna ask some other questions,
Yep.
Leon. Does an exterior door, so I'm assuming the portable, count as a ventilation?
The portables actually have windows that open. And if you open the door and the window, that's what they're counting as enough ventilation, correct?
Got it. And then will we still be using the HVAC systems already installed in the classrooms, or do they recirculate too much air?
So as far as I know, the HVAC systems is part of the fresh air part of it. So the reason our HVACs are terrible during a fire is because they suck air from the roof of the school into the classroom. So as far as I know, give me a second. I'll give you an exact thing. All right. So for our classrooms, there's a MERV 13 air cleaner in the classroom, plus fresh air is, if I remember this correctly, is to come through the ventilators, the HVAC systems that are in each single classroom inside the building. And I will double check because I'm pretty certain that those HVAC systems in the classrooms are not recirculating air from within the building, but from the ceiling. So I will double check that one.
And I think somewhat related, Mr. Wilkie's talked about the band room or the band building. So what square footage does those filters cover? Because he has one in there, but he's an entire building, not just a classroom.
Right. And I'll have to check to see with the electricians or with the district that he may need a second one put in there. That's been on my mind for the band room.
All right, and then one more question before we move on. Can family outreach also include connecting families with COVID testing and vaccine appointments on site?
Oh, so this is the plan right now. If you guys saw the tentative agreement, if we are in red tier, there was a commitment from the district to test every individual on campus every other week. Now, if for whatever reason we move into the orange tier, and then there will be a random group of students tested for COVID. And then that's a very good question. How can families have COVID testing available? And I will put that down.
Sweet. One more question and I'll let you continue. Testing, well, COVID testing and vaccines de Leon. And then also, are they MERV or HEPA?
So there's a MERV 13, and I think that's the filter that is on your HVAC. And then the air purifiers are HEPA air purifiers in your room. So I think both things are happening.
So why don't we do about 7 more minutes of safety? I don't know if you want to keep going on this document and then we can do Q&A.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, social distancing, even though the CDC or the state said 3 feet, I think as of Monday, the district is going to stick with the 6 foot. If there's any change to the 6 foot rule, we will know in the next couple of board meetings. So that's another big point of discussion. To this point, up through June 8th, we know 6 feet is what the mandate for the district is. I will keep you informed if that changes. Okay. So I think that's it for this document, because it was mainly about the safety components that have been installed on campus. And the other thing I'm keeping an eye on is the facilities meetings. I think they set up finally a criteria for rebuilding the schools, and hopefully we make towards the top of that list.
Do you know what the district will provide in regards to PPE? There's a question in the chat around, will they provide double masks?
They will provide the N95 or the NR95 masks. And if I think they will provide a second mask as necessary. So the district will provide the masks necessary, including if it's a double mask.
So I wanted to cover really quickly, because I know we're gonna get into some questions and you might run out of time. If you were a maybe for summer school, I do need to know by the end of the day if you will teach summer. So if you can just shoot me an email like, yes, I'm in, and what you're hoping to teach. If you put yes on the survey that we originally sent out, then I have you on my list. If you're part of the summer programs that we usually run, and we've already met, then you're probably on my list already. So feel free to send me an email if you want to just double check. But if we have been already planning, then I have you on my yes to go for summer.
So summer hiring for the site will be very simple. You let Ms. Reyes know, you let me know, and we send your name to HR, and you're hired for the Richmond High summer school program. So that there's not going to be some email coming from HR for you to go through an application process. You just need to let us know, and we turn in your name as soon as possible.
Why don't we go to the next slide, the Q&A I think I see some of those questions in the chat as well. Do you want to just go through them, Leon?
Yep. So can I teach outside? The answer is yes. You can teach outside. If you were to tell me in April, can I teach outside, is probably the preferred way to do it. In the summer, we will have access to 4 to 5 new quad spaces. So teaching outside is a definitely yes. So I will have to find out about the distance learning during the summer. It was intended to be an in-person format. So at 9 o'clock, we'll be able to ask some of these questions. If a student doesn't want to come in person, I think that we still have the Edgenuity option for students where they can work on their tablets from home for credit recovery. That will continue to be available for students. What we did find for Edgenuity in the past few years was the way that we really got students to finish their Edgenuity program. They literally sat with their tablets with an adult, and for some reason it made it feel more doable that way, and students actually finished most of their Edgenuity. 10 students doing 10 different programs. There was something about the structure of being with an adult that really helped them finish. Next questions, set of questions.
There was a question around, now that the CDC has changed from 6 feet to 3 feet, do you see the cohort size of 14 increasing for the summer?
I think so, but it's still gonna. I think it's still going to be a point of negotiation. So I would stay with 6 right now, and I would ask your UTR reps if they foresee a change going forward. It seems a couple of things are happening. One thing is what information is being set up for structure related sometimes at odds with what can be negotiated. So I would definitely ask questions of your unit reps.
So I think that's where all our questions. I want to allow folks to either come off mute, or you can continue to ask questions, especially if we didn't clarify something in particular that will help you make your decision.
So if anybody's asking how many outdoor rooms we have, there will only be approximately 15 outdoor rooms that have windows. That's all we have.
So again, depending on the size of like how many students we get and how many teachers, if we get tons, then we might that's where we'll split up the days of like some programs on one day, other programs on the other, so that we could use as many of the outside rooms as possible. Mr. Bincoli, I see your hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, so you have to give me a minute to pull it all together. In the department meeting, we made a decision that we would like to encourage as many students to go to summer school as possible, because what did Mr. Hilliard, you said that the juniors are the only two students who've actually been in school for a whole year. So this might be an opportunity to teach students how to join the school community. So if we're running, I think summer school should be operated like the way we plan to have it in the fall. If the thing is, that answers the question about can people teach from home? If we're going to have a hybrid system in the fall, then we should have one in the summer. We should make it as close as possible, because that way we can teach students how to return to the school community. They haven't been in the school community for over a year. and they need to learn the discipline of being back in class and changing classes, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we might want to think about, since we're starting early, to think about that. If in the fall we're going to have a hybrid system, we should have one in the summer
So,
to address that question about, can I teach from home?
there's only one, just to your question, Mr. Bancoli, there's only one cohort rule that I understand, which is that the students must stay in the same cohort. You can have different teachers, kind of the model where the teacher move, not the students move. So that's the only thing that I know has been made clear to us. So the cohort has to stay together. So let's say if you're here for a 3-hour class, you may have 3 different teachers, but you're not going to mix with 3 different groups of students.
There is a question around bathroom. Have we addressed the bathroom ventilation and occupancy? It seems like we're not really isolating classes if they're all using the same bathroom.
Correct. That's going to be one of our hardest things to do. And that's where the CSOs will be the most important, because we'll have to control the amount of people that go in the bathroom. I think our bathroom stalls are only, we'll have only in the front office, there's only 2 stalls with closing doors, and then 3 urinals, but the urinals are, I think, only 4 feet apart. So it will have to be controlled by an adult of how many students go in and out of the bathroom. So that's some of the logistics we have to work on.
Mr. Hatcher will help us figure it out.
Mr. Hatcher will be the ultimate bathroom monitor.
I heard in the TA it says something about we'd be given like air monitors.
So that's I think the classrooms will have some type of air monitor system in it. You know how in your house you have the fire alarm with the CO2 monitor?
Yeah. So
they have some system that checks how many times the air is rotating around. Okay. So that's the air monitor they're talking about. How many times the air gets cleaned per amount of time.
So just again, a reminder, if you were either maybe or you haven't really heard from us directly about summer, please email me to tell me if you are interested. We need to send our list to the district today. Please stick around and ask more questions. I also just want to be cognizant of time. We're hitting almost 9 o'clock. So also stick around if you'd like. I just want to make sure that I hear from you via email if you will commit to teaching summer. And what you would like, what is your preferred in-person curriculum or subject?
And the district right now is gathering information because they're pricing out how summer school is gonna be. Summer school is usually very limited, but by offering close to 70 sites with different amount of staffing, they're really looking at the cost and the number of participants for the summer program.
If a staff member comes on campus and sees, I don't know, something missing or needs something additional, so for example, asking for an air monitor device, is that something they can do?
The answer is yes. The air monitor device, let me see when those are going to be installed. I know that was part of the TA of the MOU for in-person reopening. I don't have an installation timeline for it though.
Will teachers be using their own classroom?
So right now, we have the classrooms assigned for the upcoming school year. If the teachers, and if this is related to, can I move to an outside classroom with windows? the teachers that are assigned to the classrooms outside will have first dibs. For whatever reason, they don't want to work summer school, then those classrooms will become available. Because we know there's some apprehension about being inside the building or outside with a potential room with windows. So I would say if you're assigned to the classroom, you have first dibs. For whatever reason, if you're not gonna work in that classroom, then we'll open it up to other people that are wanting to work summer school.
There's a question about, will there be passing periods?
No, it's minimal movement. The thing that you don't want is it's 200 people milling around the mall. There are no HEPA filters in the mall. I mean, I think the way to mitigate that for us at this point, we're thinking of keeping all the exit doors open while students are on campus to make sure there's always fresh flowing air through the building, which is a security nightmare.
I also see Gonzalo. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. I just had a question. How are we gonna like when the kids come in the morning? Like, how is that gonna take place? Like them lining up?
So that's
because they're gonna need their temperatures checked.
That's the meetings that will be coming up, Gonzalo, because there's two things. That's if we get 100 kids to come to summer school or 200 kids to come to students to come to summer school, there's no way that we can have enough entryways with enough thermometers to check them on the way in. The question is it the best place to check it is as you walk in the front door to your class to get checked. And then for flow of students, the flow of students is go right to your classroom. There is no saying hi to your friends in the mall. The only place that will have most mobility control once they hit the gates of the school will have the least amount of proximity control as they walk to school or as they ride the bus to school. So we should always have the hallways cleared. There should be no grouping of students, because that'll be depending where we are in the pandemic in August, and if we do come back full strength in August, that's going to be the hardest thing, the passing periods. So that's a bigger question for middle of April once we get more information.
Okay, thank you.
Any last questions?
Mr. Bancoli has his hand up.
Yep, Mr. Bancoli.
It is my gut feeling that since these kids have been locked in their houses for like a year, that we may end up with larger numbers than what we're expecting. They may just jump at the opportunity to be with their friends again, which brings up the question about social emotional support. And if they're not moving around and not able to socialize, then that's going to bring up another dislocation. I think that we might want to think about that when we're doing this, that they may be interested in returning to school. They may not be interested in returning to learning in school. They may want an opportunity to hang out with their buddies. I mean, school provides more things than just classes. So we might want to think about how do we help them. I mean, to be stuck in a room with the same 15 people all day long for 3 hours is not like a big draw for teenagers, in my opinion.
Right. I think that Chad has some really good comments. I think we have between now and in June 14th to work out some of those details. I wish that I could have exact certain answers for you right now, but this target is moving really fast. What happens when we get to orange as a county? Does that mean that our cities will be in orange just because the county will be in orange? You know, What happens if you get to yellow between now and June? Somehow everyone magically gets vaccinated. Yellow means almost complete return to normality. So we're keeping an eye of how this is moving. And I think those are great structural questions that we're going to have to start planning for in the next 3 weeks.
Daniel, do you have any insight on if someone does get sick in the class, does everyone have to quarantine? And then how would that affect like summer pay or summer program?
That's the next part of the summer negotiation things. And that's why and that's the reason for the cohorting, right? So therefore you're not sending 300 kids home, you're sending 14 kids home. And do they get to come back as soon as they bring you a positive, a negative COVID test? And then again, what's the, if you get a test tomorrow, like for example, yesterday we tested possibly 60 athletes, right? The football team plus the cheer squad got tested yesterday, and we'll know by Wednesday if anyone's tested positive or negative. So it will depend also if the district is going to say, well, somebody tested in this one classroom, tomorrow the nurse will be over and they will test the whole classroom and the teacher, and we'll know in 2 days. Or is the district going to buy the 20-minute COVID test? So there's a lot of things to consider. And the reason the district right now is gung-ho about testing all the athletes is because they're not paying for it. The state is athletics is paying for all the COVID testing for every athlete in California. Apparently they have money that way.
There's a suggestion around having passing period outside and staggering them too.
So I think that's the biggest question is going to be, will the district allow us to mix cohorts? And that's going to be depending on how the county changes in the tier system of color. If we move to orange, etc. My understanding right now, it's 3-hour cohorts of students. And is it a passing period for a change of venue? We'll do 1 hour in the classroom, 1 hour outside. You at least get to see somebody looking at you from a second-story window. That's the next part of the work. So right now we are planning for a 5-week program. The biggest question is that if on the pay, this is not a stipend, this is a time carded hourly position. So the question is, if you're not on campus for whatever reason, can you still submit a time card? And I have that written down already.
All right, folks, we're at 9 o'clock. Again, I see that some of you have already sent me